Hi, this is Guy. Now I've been doing pest control for many years now, and I've been licensed in several states. Well, I'm not licensed anymore because I'm retired now, but given the fact that many people need to save money these days, I decided that I would share ways that I learned over the years on how you can do your own pest control effectively, safely, and inexpensively. Now you should know that I am not making any money off these videos, at least not yet. YouTube has not paid me anything, and I do not receive any compensation from any companies that manufacture or sell pesticides and equipment, nor do I receive any compensation from pest control companies that sell services for applying pesticides and getting rid of your pests. My only motivation for doing these videos is to try to help others. So I hope that you'll take the time to, pay it forward and share any knowledge that you may have. And please, if you know somebody, a friend or family member that could also stand to save a buck on pest control and who is willing to do it themselves, please click the share button and pass it along. Help somebody else. Now, if you'd like to see some more of my videos, then please click the subscribe button. I'm going to be totally honest about this. I do not do these videos as often as I'd like. I have to admit that I've got a lot on my plate these days. But I'm going to promise you that I will try my best to do them just as quickly as I can. Okay, if you are watching this video, then presumably you have already watched my video on how to tell if you have termites or carpenter ants. If you have not watched that video yet, then I suggest that you do that prior to watching this video. And I will put a link in the description for you on how to get to that video. Now, today I'm going to talk about treating carpenter ants. So the first thing that you should know is that unlike termites, carpenter ants do not eat wood. Termites eat wood, but carpenter ants do not. Carpenter ants just tunnel through the wood, and some of them don't even do that. Of course, even if they're not busy crunching on your house, you still kind of need to send them packing. Also, personally, I think they're kind of lazy. I mean, they don't seem to like to work too hard. And that's why I think they prefer that soft, wet wood rather than that nice, hard, dry wood. So likely places to find them would be any place that is damp or wet, like under sinks, around bathtubs, crawl spaces, and so forth, where maybe you have a leaky pipe or you have some water coming in from the outside, or condensation or something like that. Now, if you have carpenter ants, then in a way, it doesn't make much difference what kind of carpenter ant you have, because they are all treated the same way. But it does make a difference on the amount of damage that they may be doing to your home. In most cases, at least in the US, you are probably going to encounter black carpenter ants. And these are the guys that will damage your home. But in some southern states, you may also encounter Florida carpenter ants. And as the name suggests, we definitely have these guys in Florida. Now, Florida carpenter ants can be distinguished from their black cousins because they have a reddish head and thorax, while the black ones are, well, black. They're just totally black. Now, Florida carpenter ants are capable of tunneling through that soft, wet wood that I told you about, but they mostly just build colonies in the wall voids, also in soffits around poorly sealed windows, any places in your home where there's like a space that they can get into, that they can use that to colonize. And they could go undetected for a while because of that. So if you have this type of carpenter ant, they're kind of more of a nuisance rather than a serious cause of concern, because there's a good chance they are not eating but they're not tunneling through your wood. Because carpenter ants do not eat the wood, they just tunnel through it. In any event, you are going to want to eradicate these things just as quickly as you can. Now, if you have the black ones, then this is a bit more concerning, because they like to colonize in that nice, wet, soft wood, and they are going to do some damage. Okay, before I tell you how to get rid of these things, let's talk for a minute on how do you know if you even have them. Well, unlike termites, carpenter ants are fairly easy to discover. Since, unlike termites, they do not eat wood, they come out at night to forage for food, and you will often see dead bodies lying around near the walls. Also, in the case of black carpenter ants, you'll often notice something we call frass coming out of the wooden parts of your home, like the floor joists, roof rafters, that sort of thing, any place where there's exposed wood. And now this frass looks a bit like sawdust, and it's comprised of wood shavings and excrement that the ants removed from the wood. And one of the telltale signs is you're going to see these little tiny holes in the wood where the ants are pushing out the frass. Now, you should note that just because you see these little holes and you see the frass does not mean that you have carpenter ants. You may also have drywood termites. Now, drywood termites typically are just found in southern coastal states. So take a look at this map I drew. If you live outside of the red area, then you most likely have carpenter ants. But if you live inside the red area, then you really need to obtain a specimen to make a proper identification, to make sure you know exactly what you're dealing with. Again, in the case of carpenter ants, you will most likely find specimens that are, dead ants that are near the wall. Okay, finally, are you ready for this? In the case of carpenter ants, it's possible to actually hear them. And it may sound something like this. Now let's face it, unless your home's haunted, your walls don't normally make rustling sounds. So you know that something is in there that doesn't belong there. Okay, now that you know that you do have carpenter ants, let's talk about how to get rid of them, which I suppose is the main reason that you're watching this video. So let's get to it. The first thing you should understand is that these things got in from the outside. So you must treat the exterior of the building to prevent them from reinfesting the home. But we're going to talk about that in just a minute. The next thing you should know is that treating carpenter ants costs money. Not as much as hiring a pro, but you do need to buy the right products and equipment. Now, treating carpenter ants requires that you treat both the inside and the outside of your home. Now, I never like treating the inside of a home unless it's absolutely necessary. But in the case of carpenter ants, it's absolutely necessary. So let's start there. For treating the inside of your home, I like to use a combination of baits, dusts, and foam. For interior equipment, you're going to need a small duster like this one. These are available from domyown.com or Amazon, I think for about $14. This will, of course, be used to apply the dust. There are several good dusts on the market, but the one I like is the Defense Delta Methrin dust. It's available from domyown.com or Amazon, I think for about $15. Now, be careful not to overfill the duster. You only want to fill it about halfway. Personally, I like to be thorough, so I remove all the outlet covers throughout the entire house. And I give it a couple of shots with the duster between the outlet box and the drywall. And just give a couple shots right in there on every single outlet. And if there's any Carpenter ants traveling in the walls, that should pretty much get rid of them. Now, if you hear activity in a wall, I would actually drill a small hole right through the drywall and apply several shots of the dust right above where you hear the noise and just let it drop down to the colony. Now, I know this is going to require that you repair the drywall, but believe me, filling in a small hole in the wall definitely beats ripping down the drywall to replace the studs that were destroyed by the Carpenter ants. Next, you're going to need to treat the pipes under the sinks, under appliances, any place you find cracks large enough to basically stick in the duster tip. Next, you're going to want to use a good bait. I like to use both a sweet bait and a protein bait at the same time because ants seem to be fussy. Some ants prefer a sweet bait and, well, some prefer a protein bait. Most of the time they prefer the sweet bait, but I use the protein bait just to be sure. Max Force Carpenter Ant Bait gel is a good choice for a sweet bait, and Advanced Carpenter Ant Bait is a pretty good choice for the protein bait. There are others on the market, I'm sure, that are probably fine, but these just happen to be the ones that I use, and so far for me they've done a pretty good job. Now, both can be purchased from domyown.com. The Max Force Carpenter Ant Gel costs about $30 for 4 tubes, and the Advanced Carpenter Ant Bait costs about $26 for an 8-ounce bottle, I'm thinking. And that should be plenty to get the job done for your house. Just place the bait wherever you notice Carpenter ant activity, or you suspect there might be Carpenter ants. Under sinks, under toilets, around baseboards, bathtubs, that sort of thing. Also, you're going to want to put it under appliances and around appliances as well. Basically anywhere you think there might be ant activity. If you are concerned about kids or pets getting into the bait, just use bait stations, and they're also available from domyown.com. And I think you can get 48 of them for about $26, and that should do the job well for you. But I can tell you that in my experience, kids and pets generally do not bother the bait. So personally, I've never had to use bait stations. But I can tell you that it is somewhat neater and, keeps you from sweeping up or vacuuming up that granular bait when you're cleaning. The other thing you can do is kind of put that granular bait in a little cap that you might get off a medicine bottle or something like that, and that kind of keep it neat. Okay, now it's time to follow up with the Thermador foam. I don't happen to have any of that left. Because remember, I'm not in the business anymore. I'm just a homeowner like you. And I don't have any carpenter ants, so I don't have any of the foam. So let me borrow some video from another company, Pest, I think they're called, get this right, Solutions, Pest, and Lawn, I think they're called. My memory's not as good as it was, folks. I think these folks also sell pest products online, but I haven't used them yet. I'll have to check them out at some point and see what their prices are like. But they did a pretty decent video on this, but not quite as thorough as mine. But I do like some of the video that they have, so let me just steal a little bit of it from them. I hope they don't mind. Anyway, you want to treat around the windows, doors, plumbing, under sinks, and any holes in the wood where carpenter ants may be present. Now, if you hear any activity in your walls, you can also drill a hole in the wall where you hear the noise and inject the foam directly into the colony. Okay. Now that you've treated the interior of your house, it's time to treat the exterior. It's very important to treat the exterior of your home every 6 months with a good termiticide such as Taurus SC. This product can be used every 6 months at a dilution rate of 0.8 ounces per gallon of water. Now, Taurus SC is also available from Do My Own or Amazon. I also do an in-between treatment with Talstar P. That is to say, I first treat with Taurus SC, and then 3 months later, I treat with Talstar P. Then 3 months after that, I treat with the Taurus SC again, and then 3 months after that, I treat with the Talstar P, and so on. Talstar P is labeled for use every 3 months, while the Taurus SC is labeled just for every 6 months. So that's why I say you can alternate between products and still be legal. Now, again, Taurus SC and Talstar P are both available from Do My Own and Amazon. And Taurus SC costs about $95 for 78 ounces, I think. And Talstar P costs about $65 for a gallon. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but it generally only takes about 12 to 20 gallons to treat the average home. Most of the time, it's closer to the 12 gallons than the 20. So in the case of Taurus SC, you get 78 ounces for $95, and since you are mixing it 0.8 ounces per gallon, that container makes about 97 gallons of finished product, which means you can treat your home about 5 to 8 times. Since you are only using it twice a year, this 78-ounce container will last between 2 and 4 years. So that's only going to cost you between $24 to $48 a year. The Talstar P costs $65 a gallon, and it makes 128 gallons of finished product. Again, it takes about 12 to 20 gallons to do the average size house, so a gallon lasts between 6 to 11 applications. Since you are only treating with this also twice a year, that means this container will last between 3 to 6 years, and it will only cost you between $11 to $21 a year. So if you alternate between these products every 3 months, it will only cost you between $35 and $69 a year. And believe me, that's a lot cheaper than the $300 a year that a professional is going to charge you to do the same thing. And believe me when I tell you, the treatment that you are going to do based on these videos is going to catch areas that the pros generally miss. So in other words, doing it this way, you're going to do a better job and catch more pests than the pros do. Additionally, this treatment will not only keep out carpenter ants, but also every other type of bug you can imagine, including other types of ants, spiders, cockroaches, etc. And it will stop wasps from building nests in your eaves. It'll even prevent subterranean termites to some extent. But I do also recommend treating for termites with the products that I recommend in my termite treatment video, which is the Bio-Advanced Termite Killer. And you should really be doing that annually as well. And that can be done for under $50 a year. And I'll put a link to that video in the description. Okay, tell you what, let's go outside and I'm going to show you how to treat the exterior of your home. Okay folks, I put 2 gallons of water in the sprayer. Just a quick tip, when you're mixing the pesticide, always put the pesticide in the sprayer before you put the water in. That way you don't have to pick it up and shake it. If you kind of just put the pesticide in first and shoot the hose in on top of the pesticide, it kind of does a good job mixing it, because lifting these things up and shaking them, again, for me, is kind of a hard thing to do. If you're one of those young guys that have lots of muscles, then it's no problem. Okay, so assuming we've mixed our pesticide according to label directions, let me show you how to apply it. Okay, what you want to do is set your tip so it makes a nice fan spray. I don't know if you can see that. Again, this is just water. And what you want to do is make sure you get around all your windows. Like that. Okay? Pretty simple. And then what you're going to want to do is around the entire house, you want to catch about 2 feet up and about 2 feet out from the house. I need to readjust the camera to get that. Just hang on a second. Treating the side of the house is pretty simple. It's pretty fast. Just treat up. I did a little bit more than 2 feet, but that's about all you need. Now, with the mistake a lot of people make is they just do a quick spray on the ground, and that's not enough. You have to understand, a lot of times these insects, no matter what you're treating for, aren't traveling on top of the ground. If you look on top of the ground, you're probably not seeing anything. And that's because oftentimes they are below the ground a little bit. And so you really want to soak it. Particularly, I have gravel here, and treating the top of the gravel isn't going to get much done. So what you want to do is really soak in the gravel, and right where the wall meets the ground or the gravel, in this case, you want to soak that in really good. Because I'll tell you, a lot of insects like to live right in here, and that's no different with carpenter ants. This is where you're going to find a lot of them. So make sure you flood this in really good. And this is not only going to stop carpenter ants, this treatment is going to stop pretty much anything that is going to enter your house. So if you got gravel like me, soak it really good. If you just have concrete up to the house, just a little bit will do. If you have dirt, give it a pretty good soak. If you see it really wet on the top, then that's good enough. But you don't want that little bit of a just spritz. You want to soak it pretty good. And if you have a sidewalk that's meeting the gravel like I do, you want to soak that in here as well. Okay, it's pretty simple. The reason most pest treatments don't work for amateurs is because they don't use enough pesticide. Treating an average house like I have, you're going to easily use 12 to 20 gallons of pesticide. Just what it takes, okay? All right, let me show you how to do some other treatments like the eaves. Now, if you have a gabled roof like I do, you need to set up a ladder to catch it. And I recommend that you keep the ladder, maybe a couple of feet away from the building, because it's going to drip and you don't want it dripping on top of you. So be safe. Also work away from you and just keep moving the ladder. Show you that in just a second. All right, this is pretty simple. I generally leave the eaves to last, and I usually don't put more than a gallon of pesticide inside the sprayer so that I can easily carry it. Again, what you want to do is start from the top, work down, and don't spray as far as your ladder is because you don't want this stuff dripping on top of you. So pretty simple, that much. Catch the side. Here, if you have something like this, any penetrations, and that's it. Then just move the ladder and treat further down. Pretty fast, easy, and simple to do. Now, if you have any penetrations like this, we have a little hole here where this wire goes in. This is a dead outlet, by the way. It was here when I got here. It was installed incorrectly, so it's disconnected. We don't use it. But it's still got a hole, which I should really seal up. But make sure you shoot some pesticide in and around it. Make sure you catch any holes. That's the same thing anywhere around the building. Any holes, penetrations, anything like that, make sure you get some pesticide into it. You want to make sure you catch your doors. So, pretty simple, just make sure you, let me get this out of the way, sure you catch the bottom of the door and then right around. Simple as that. Then again, around, if you have these concrete areas, make sure that you treat 2 feet up and then catch the concrete also around the door. If you have bushes or any type of ornamental plants or anything like that around your home, make sure you treat the root structures of it pretty well and just really soak it in. And then also treat the actual plants themselves. So anything that wants to crawl on there is going to be dead. If you have trees next to your house, go up about 2 feet up the side of the tree, all the way around. And again, treat the soil around the tree and make sure you soak it pretty well. And that will prevent any carpenter ants from infesting the tree as well. Now, carpenter ants love wood, and so same thing with termites and other bugs as well for that matter. So if you have a fence that abuts the house like this, you want to make sure you treat that at least this far, a couple of feet out on the fence. Any penetrations we have, and do that on both sides of the fence. Make sure you soak it pretty good because you don't want the carpenter ants. It's a perfect place for them to cross over and get on your house. And again, make sure that you can't see it because of the air conditioning unit, but get down low and treat it all the way up and down the fence. Okay? And then you want to treat the soil that the fence meets on the ground as well. And again, right around the entire house, okay? And of course, don't forget your garage too, not just for carpenter ants, but for any pests that might want to enter your house. Wouldn't hurt to treat right around just like you would the windows and doors, and catch where the garage door meets the ground. I don't know if you see it, but there's a piece of wood they left in here when they poured the concrete. So soak that. That is temptation for termites and carpenter ants right there. So I soak it right in. And again, around the building, 2 feet up, and next to where the concrete meets, and all the gravel. And it wouldn't hurt if you have joints in the concrete to just catch them as well. Not just for so much for Carpenter ants, that's not so much a problem, but for any type of pest that you have, any cracks that you have in your concrete would be a good idea to treat them while you're here, just to get rid of any type of pests that you may have. That's about it, folks. The only other thing I can mention is always take good care of your equipment. Don't leave unused pesticide inside the sprayer. It sometimes can get like clumpy and congeal and ruin a perfectly good sprayer. So what I always do, and safety first, is always make sure you remove the cap, dump out the remaining pesticide if there is any. Sometimes it won't all get picked up when you're spraying. So any excess, just dump it out. And then be sure to put about half a gallon of water in it. And then just put the cap on, not too heavy with a half gallon of water, and just shake it up. Get rid of any unused pesticide. And then you want to make sure there's nothing in the hose. So now that you got clean water, just put a little in the sprayer and go ahead and turn it on to get rid of any pesticide that may be inside the hose. Dump it out, and you're good to go. Just one last thing, make sure you turn off the sprayer. I make that mistake all the time. Getting absent-minded, I forget to turn the sprayer off, and I find it running inside the garage. So not a good thing. If there's no water in it, could burn out the motor. That's it. Let me get back inside and wrap this thing up. Okay, that's it for me today. I'm sorry that this took so long, but believe me, I cannot show you how to do a proper treatment for carpenter ants in 5 minutes. I know people love their YouTube videos short, but if you want to do an effective job, you just need to take the time to learn how to do it right. Anyway, if you found this video to be of any assistance to you whatsoever, then please share it with a friend or a family member who also needs to save some money on pest control. And if you would like to see more of my videos, please click the subscribe button. Okay, until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. And please do not hesitate to ask questions. I'm always here to help.